Imagine this. You're in love, deeply in love. The kind of love that feels like it's going to last forever. 3 years together, and you still get butterflies when he walks into the room. You laugh together, you share secrets. You've met each other's families, you've planned a wedding, a home, a life, but one day something feels off. You can't explain it. You tell yourself it's nothing, but the feeling lingers, and it will not go away. This is the story of how one woman's dream romance turned into the most disturbing betrayal she could imagine. A betrayal so twisted. She still wakes up at night shaking. And before I go any further, if you want more chilling, real stories like this, make sure you subscribe to Crime Vault. We go deep into the stories most people can't believe are true. Stories that might just save you from becoming the next victim. She met him at a friend's birthday dinner. He had that kind of smile that made you feel like you'd known him your whole life. Confident, but gentle. The kind of man who listens when you speak. They talked all night, and by the time dessert came, she already knew. She wanted to see him again. Dates turned into weekends together. Weekends turned into holidays, and holidays turned into moving in. He was thoughtful. He remembered her coffee order. He sent good morning texts every single day. To her friends, he was the perfect guy. To her parents, the one. And to her, he was everything she had prayed for. But here's the thing about perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. And sometimes the people who seem the most perfect are the ones hiding the deepest secrets. She didn't know it yet, but there was a reason his smile seemed familiar. A reason he could disappear for hours and come back acting slightly different. A reason her life was about to be ripped apart. And it all started with one random encounter. On a street she almost didn't walk down. The day she saw him and him at the same time. It was a Tuesday morning. She was running late for work. Hair half dry, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. The plan was simple: cut through a side street to save time. She'd done it before. It was faster, quieter. Halfway down she froze. There he was, standing at the corner, laughing with someone she didn't recognize. Her heart lifted for a second, until she realized he wasn't supposed to be there. He had told her he was at the dentist, across town. She started to walk closer, and that's when it happened. She saw another him. Not a look-alike, not a cousin, the same face, the same build, the same smile. For a moment she thought she was losing her mind. She blinked. One of them looked at her and quickly turned away. She didn't call out, didn't wave. She just kept walking, pretending she hadn't seen. Her mind was racing. Was this some bizarre prank? A hallucination? An identical stranger? By the time she got to work, her hands were shaking. She typed his name into her phone and stared at the little typing dots. But she couldn't bring herself to send a single word. Here's the thing. When you see something that doesn't make sense, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. People who hide lies count on you doing exactly that. That night he came home like nothing had happened. Same warm smile. Same "hey, babe." Same arms around her. She tried to look for differences. A change in the way he hugged her, the way he smelled, even the way he laughed. But everything felt normal, or maybe she just wanted it to. The next day she decided to test him, to ask a question only her fiancé would know the answer to. But what she got was an answer that would make her stomach turn. The next morning she made up her mind. She needed answers, but she couldn't just ask outright, not without proof. So she planned something simple, a question only he could answer. something from a memory they shared, a moment no stranger could guess. Years ago, on their first trip together, they got caught in a thunderstorm. She was terrified. He had pulled her into a tiny cafe until it passed. They'd laughed about it ever since. That cafe had a name, a strange, hard-to-pronounce name, and she was sure he'd never forget it. That evening, as they sat down for dinner, she looked up casually and asked, "Hey, what was the name of that cafe in Vermont, you know, the one during the storm?" He froze, just for a fraction of a second. Then he smiled, and said a name, the wrong name. Her heart skipped. She kept her face calm, but inside the pieces started to shift. Maybe he just forgot. Maybe it was an honest mistake, or maybe this wasn't the man she'd spent the last 3 years loving. This is how it happens. Little cracks, small mistakes. It's never the whole truth at once. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the signs until it's too late. That night, she barely slept. Every word he'd ever said, every time he'd been late, every sudden business trip, it all came rushing back, and she started to wonder, had she been living with 2 men without knowing it? The answer would come sooner than she thought, and it wouldn't come from him. It would come from a stranger who knocked on her door the very next evening. The next evening the sky was heavy with rain. She was curled up on the couch, scrolling aimlessly. He was working late again. Around 8:30 there was a knock at the door. Not the quick, friendly kind. Slow, heavy, like someone who had to be heard. She hesitated. No one had texted to say they were coming. Through the peephole, a woman stood there, late 20s, soaked from the rain, and crying. She opened the door an inch. "Can I help you?" The woman looked up, eyes red, and the first words out of her mouth were, "I think you're engaged to my boyfriend." At first she thought it was some scam, or a cruel mistake. But then the woman pulled out her phone. There he was, smiling in a photo, same face, same eyes, same shirt he'd worn 2 nights ago. Her stomach twisted. She stepped outside onto the porch, the rain soaking through her sweater. "Where did you take this?" she asked. "Last night," the woman said. "We had dinner. He dropped me off at my apartment. He said he was going home to feed his cat. He didn't have a cat. Here's what I need you to hear. When the truth knocks, it doesn't always come gently. It doesn't care if you're ready, and if you're not, it can shatter everything you thought was safe." She invited the woman in, and for the next hour they compared stories. But here's the thing. Their timelines didn't overlap, not once. It was like he'd been living 2 full lives, one with her, one with the stranger in her kitchen. But neither of them could explain the one thing. The other woman swore she had met his brother, and when she described him, it was like looking in a mirror. The woman in her kitchen took a sip of tea, hands shaking, and then she said, "I've met his brother before. They look exactly alike." That word, exactly, sent a chill down her spine. She knew about a brother. He'd mentioned him once or twice, always with vague details, no pictures, no visits, and never ever at the same events. What now? The stranger was telling her. The brother had been around plenty. Family barbecues, birthday dinners, even vacations. The kicker? Sometimes she couldn't tell if she'd been with the brother or her fiancé, and neither could the other woman. That's when it hit her, the wrong answers to her questions, the strange slip-ups, the times his cologne smelled just a little different. She thought it was stress, but maybe it was someone else entirely. Let me tell you something. Predators don't always work alone. Sometimes they have help. Sometimes they are the help. And if you've never considered that possibility, you might already be a step behind. That night she didn't sleep at all. The woman left, promising to keep in touch, and she sat in the dark, staring at the engagement ring on her finger. Was it even real, or just part of some sick, shared performance? She didn't have long to think, because the next day she'd see something that proved, beyond any doubt, that the man she loved wasn't just lying. He was dangerous. Morning came with a fog so thick, it felt like the world had gone quiet. She hadn't slept. Coffee sat cold on the counter. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. She opened it. A single video file. No message. Just a play button. For a long moment she didn't touch it. Her thumb hovered, but curiosity and dread won. The screen lit up, and there he was, laughing, but not alone. Another man stood beside him, same height, same face, same eyes. They were in a hotel room, talking casually, like what they were doing was normal. And then the camera turned. She saw herself, asleep in bed, completely unaware. One of them leaned down, kissed her shoulder. The other smirked at the camera. Hear me when I say this. If you ever feel something is off, don't dismiss it. That knot in your stomach? It's not paranoia. It's protection, and it might be the only warning you get. She dropped the phone. Her hands shook so badly. She had to hold them against her knees. There was no mistaking it now. This wasn't just betrayal. It was violation, and it was recorded. But the real shock? Finding out who sent that video. And why? Her phone buzzed again. Another message from the same number. This time it had words. You don't know me, but I know them. She stared at the screen, wondering if she should respond. But before she could type, another text popped up. Meet me at the diner on 5th, noon. Don't tell them. Noon came. She walked in, scanning every face. And then she saw her, a woman in her late 30s, sitting in a corner booth, eyes darting toward the door like she was expecting trouble. She slid into the seat across from her. The woman didn't smile. She just pushed a manila envelope across the table. Inside, more photos, more videos, and in every single one, her fiancé and his twin. They did the same thing to me, the woman said, and to others. I've been collecting proof for months. You're not their first victim, and if you stay quiet, you won't be their last. That's the thing about predators. They count on your shame. They count on you wanting to hide. And that silence, that's what lets them keep hunting. She left the diner, clutching the envelope. Proof, motive, and now a decision to make, because the only way to stop them was to risk everything. The next step wouldn't just expose the truth. It would put her face to face with both of them. That night, she didn't call the police, not yet. Instead, she called him. We need to talk, she said. Both of you. There was a pause on the line, a strange, stilted silence, and then he agreed. They met at the apartment. She arrived early, sat at the table with the envelope in front of her, the proof like a loaded gun she didn't want to use. The door opened. He walked in first. The twin followed. And for the first time, she saw them side by side. Same face, same smirk, same eyes watching her like she was prey. I know, she said. She didn't raise her voice, didn't cry. Just slid one of the photos across the table. They glanced at it, then at each other, and for a split second, their masks slipped. The twin chuckled. You think anyone's going to believe you? Her fiancé leaned in. Careful, babe. You're talking crazy. But her hands didn't shake this time. She tapped the envelope. I've got proof, and I'm not the only one. Here's the thing. Abusers will always try to make you doubt yourself. That's their game. But the moment you stop playing, you take away their control. She stood, took the envelope, and walked out. No yelling, no drama, just a quiet exit, because the next person she was meeting wore a badge. She didn't go home. She drove straight to the station, parked under a flickering streetlight, and just sat there for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. Walking in meant no turning back. Inside, a detective listened. Really listened. No interruptions, no side-eye glances. Just that steady, scribbling pen. When she laid the photos on the table, he didn't flinch. When she played the video, his jaw tightened. "We can work with this," he said. "But we need more. Something live. Something they can't explain away." That's when the plan took shape. 2 nights later, she sent a text to her fiancé. "I've been thinking, maybe we can fix things." He took the bait. Asked if his brother could come by too. For closure, he said. She agreed. But what he didn't know was that the apartment was wired. Every mic, every camera, hidden in plain sight. See, predators don't just cross lines. They live on the other side of them. And the only way to stop them is to catch them where they think they're safe. The knock came at 9:13 p.m. She opened the door. They walked in, all confidence and grins. And this time, she wasn't the one on camera. The cameras rolled. The mix caught every word. And she just played along. She offered drinks, laughed at their jokes, let them believe the night was going their way. But the truth, every second was being recorded. Not just the words, but the way they looked at her, the way they touched her without asking. 15 minutes in, one of them crossed the line, stepped too close, said the wrong thing. And that's when the door burst open. 2 detectives, uniforms right behind them, shouting commands. The twins froze, their smirks gone in an instant. Cuffs clicked tight around their wrists. They tried to talk their way out, but the evidence was already on the detective's desk. For her, it wasn't triumph. It was relief. Relief that it was over, and a quiet, aching hope that maybe now they couldn't hurt anyone else. Listen, the monsters in our lives don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes they sit across from us at dinner. Sometimes they say, "I love you." Pay attention to your instincts. Ask questions. And if something feels wrong, don't wait until it's too late. If you want more true crime stories that don't just shock you, but help you see the signs before it's too late, subscribe to Crime Vault, because the next story might just save your life.